Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to cover absolutely everything you need to know about HR, according to the slides derived from our source material. And we're going to break down how human resources is actually so much more than just a background support function. It's literally the strategic engine driving a company's competitive advantage.
Let's be totally honest for a second. When you hear the words human resources, what actually pops into your head? Do you just picture a dusty back-office department that pushes paperwork, tracks your vacation days, and fields employee complaints? Because if you do, you're kind of missing the big picture. We need to immediately squash that myth. So, to get us on the right track, let's look at the core definition. Human resource management, or HRM, is essentially the philosophy of people management. It's the highly deliberate process of recruiting, managing, rewarding, and developing employees. And the ultimate goal? It's ensuring the business has the exact right number and the right type of people at the exact right time. The key takeaway here is that effectively utilizing your people is your ultimate competitive advantage. Because frankly, your competitors can easily copy your products, but they absolutely cannot copy a highly motivated, perfectly positioned team.
Okay, here is our agenda. We're going to explore the 6 pillars of the HR system, the HR competitive advantage, blueprinting the role, finding the right fit, training versus development, performance, pay, and perks, and finally, why everyone is an HR manager. We'll map these out onto the chronological journey of a theoretical employee, right from the moment a business realizes it needs help, all the way to managing their daily performance.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, the HR competitive advantage. It's so vital to understand that HR touches every single part of a business because it's the only function that works on a truly personal level with employees. Think of the HRM system as having 6 main buckets. We've got planning, staffing, training and development, performance management, compensation and rewards, and finally, HR maintenance. Literally every single task HR does falls into one of these 6 components.
Which leads us perfectly into part 2, blueprinting the role. This is the very first step of the employee lifecycle where a business realizes, hey, we need to hire someone, and has to figure out exactly what they need.
Now, people mix these 2 concepts up all the time, but the distinction is actually super clear. On one hand, you have the job description. The easiest way to remember this is that the description describes the job itself. We're talking the title, the location, the daily duties, and the actual working conditions. On the other hand, you have the job specification. This specifies the person needed to do that job, their qualifications, their years of experience, their personality traits, and their specific skills. So just remember, description equals the job, specification equals the person.
Okay, once we have those blueprints completely mapped out, we move to part 3, finding the right fit. The whole goal here is finding and bringing that perfect talent right into the business.
This is the chronological journey of staffing. First, you've got recruitment, where you're attracting a big pool of potential candidates. Second is selection, where you actually choose the most suitable person from that pool. Third is placement, where the employee is officially put into the role. And finally, orientation, which is introducing the new employee to the whole business environment and making sure they're comfortable on day 1. Now, when it comes to that very first step, recruitment, I absolutely love this philosophy. It's called the culture fit approach, and it boils down to this. People are permanent, jobs vary. It's a great reminder that specific technical skills, you can usually teach those later. But a candidate has to fundamentally match the business's core values from the start. If they don't fit the culture, honestly, no amount of technical skill is going to make it a successful long-term hire. So, you've got your pool of candidates. How do you actually pick the best one? Well, HR has quite the toolkit for the selection phase. It ranges from standard application forms and interviews to way more intensive stuff like psychometric testing to gauge personality, assessment centers for observing behavior and mock exercises, medical exams for physically demanding roles, and, of course, checking references. Think about your own career journey for a second. Which of these selection methods have you personally had to go through? Usually, companies use a combination of these to guarantee the best possible fit. Moving right along to part 4, training versus development. We're now shifting to the phase right after an employee is hired, where the business has to invest in their continuous growth. Here's a really handy memory trick to separate these 2 terms. Training is for today. It's all about a short-term focus on improving your current job performance and teaching you specific job-related skills, like, say, learning how to use a new software program. Development, on the flip side, is for your destiny. It's a long-term focus that prepares you for future jobs and builds your overall broad competencies. Think something like a year-long leadership program. Simply put, training helps you do your current job better. Development prepares you for your next one.
All right, part 5,
performance, pay, and perks. Let's shift gears and talk about the stuff that actually keeps employees happy, motivated, and sticking around for the long haul. Because let's face it, a total compensation package is way more than just a single monthly paycheck. It's actually divided into 3 distinct buckets. First is base compensation. That's your regular, fixed pay, like your salary or wages. Second, you have pay incentives. These are rewards specifically for outstanding effort that goes above and beyond, like a killer sales commission or an end-of-year bonus. And third are benefits. These are indirect perks linked simply to your employment, not your performance. Things like medical aid, pension plans, and paid time off that seriously improve your quality of life.
But of course, compensation doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It is tied directly to performance management. And the guiding rule here is wonderfully no nonsense. Good performance gets rewarded, usually through those incentives we just mentioned. Poor performance, however, is not just ignored, it gets actively corrected. This might mean sitting down for dedicated counseling or sending the employee back for a bit more training and development.
And honestly, to keep this entire massive life cycle running smoothly across hundreds or even thousands of employees, you absolutely need HR maintenance. This is the vital administrative backbone of the entire system. It's making sure that working conditions are actually safe, that payroll runs without a single glitch, that labor relations with unions stay fair, and that everyone's personnel records are perfectly accurate. Without this maintenance, the whole strategic engine just grinds to a complete halt.
Which brings us to our 6th and final part. Everyone is an HR manager. This is the big twist of the explainer regarding who is actually responsible for executing all these tasks we've been talking about.
Here is the ultimate takeaway, you guys. All managers are responsible for managing people, not just the HR department. There's this huge misconception out there that only people who literally have HR in their job title do human resources. No way. Whether you're a team lead in finance, a director in marketing, or a shift supervisor in operations, if you lead people, you are actively doing human resource management every single day.
Seriously, think about it. Frontline managers in every department are the ones figuring out daily work requirements. They're sitting in on interviews and staffing their teams. They are completely on the hook for keeping their best workers around by building solid relationships and recognizing hard work. They're the ones making sure their immediate environment is safe, they're coaching their team's competencies on the daily, and they are the ones managing their team through periods of crazy business change. The HR department might provide the shiny tools and the legal framework, sure, but it's the frontline managers who are actually executing the employee life cycle. So, having seen the entire picture, I'm going to leave you with a critical question. Whether you're leading a team right now, or you're hoping to lead one down the road, knowing that HR is just inherently baked into any leadership role, how will you step up as an HR manager in your own career? How are you going to use these pillars, planning, staffing, developing, and rewarding to build your very own competitive advantage? Keep that in mind the next time you walk into work. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.